Good morning to yet another new edition of Breakfast News. It's 24th of August today. Well, Ukraine is marking its 31st year of independence today, but celebrations are of course subdued because more strikes from Russia are expected, and the US is going to give Ukraine its biggest security package on its National Day. So that's going to be another important news of the day. And to update you on further international news, well, Angela Merkel has been bestowed with the UNESCO Peace Prize there, and that is for her contribution to help refugees in during the Syrian conflict in year 2015. So the refugee crisis is still looming. That is because of the Ukraine war.
Absolutely, and back home, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be dedicating to the nation a plethora of projects, health initiatives, and among them the top is the Cancer Care Hospital, which will come up in Mohali. We're going to get you more on that, and of course the fact that Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will be addressing the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Defence Ministers meeting in Uzbekistan. All of this wrapped up in the next 60 minutes, but first, as always, the headlines that we are tracking at this hour.
Ukraine marks 31 years of independence today. Celebrations overshadowed by fears of new Russian missile attacks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warns of the possibility of repugnant Russian provocations and brutal strikes by Moscow.
In the UN Security Council meeting on the situation in Ukraine, Indian Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj reiterates the importance of international law, UN Charter, territorial integrity and sovereignty of states. Says India attaches high importance to the safety of Ukraine's nuclear facilities.
External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar interacts with entrepreneurs at LIDE, Association of Entrepreneurs of Brazil. Says India and Brazil are not only partners but can share best practices for their mutual growth and progress.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to address the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Defence Ministers meeting in Tashkent in Uzbekistan today. Issues of defence cooperation to be discussed among the member states during the annual meeting.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Amrita Hospital in Haryana's Faridabad today. The 2,600-bed healthcare institution under the auspices of Mata Amritanandamayi Mutt will provide state-of-the-art healthcare facilities to people. The Prime Minister will also dedicate Homi Bhabha Cancer Hospital and Research Centre to the nation at Mullapur, New Chandigarh later in the day.
And Indian players continue their stellar performance in the ongoing World Badminton Championship in Tokyo. Lakshya Sen, Kidambi Srikanth and HS Pranoy will play their round of 32 matches today.
So those were the headlines you were tracking in Breakfast News today. So up first, let's bring you what's making news across the globe.
Well, let's start with the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Ukrainians mark 31 years since they broke free from the Russia-dominated Soviet Union today in what is certain to be a day of defiance against the Kremlin's 6-month-old war to subdue the country once again. Ukraine's Independence Day falls on the 6-month anniversary of Russia's February 24th attack as well, and will be marked by subdued celebrations under the threat of attacks from land, air and sea. Public gatherings are banned in the capital Kyiv, and a curfew is in force in the frontline eastern city of Kharkiv. which has weathered months of shelling. The government laid out the carcasses of burnt-out Russian tanks and armoured vehicles like war trophies in central Kyiv in a show of defiance.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has warned of Russian strikes on Wednesday when Ukraine is set to mark both its independence from Soviet rule in 1991 and 6 months since the war with Russia. Zelensky urged Ukrainians to follow security rules, respect the curfew and act on the raid alarm signals. The Ukrainian and allied Western officials had cited the risk of Russian strikes, and the US Embassy has asked US citizens to leave Ukraine now by their own means if it was safe to do so.
Tomorrow is an important day for all of us. This day is also unfortunately important for our enemy. We have to realize that tomorrow repugnant Russian provocations are a possibility and brutal strikes. Our armed forces, our intelligence community, security forces will do everything to protect people as far as it is possible, and we are sure to retaliate against any form of Russian terror. But please, tomorrow be sure to follow security rules. Please respect the curfew.
Meanwhile, Ukraine has imposed a 2-day curfew in its northeastern city of Kharkiv amid rising fears of Russian strikes during the country's Independence Day anniversary today. The curfew started on Tuesday at 7 p.m. local time and is scheduled to end at 7 a.m. on Thursday. Kharkiv has come under frequent and deadly longer-range artillery and rocket fire since Russia launched what it calls its special military operation to protect Russian-speaking communities on the 24th of February this year. Elsewhere in Ukraine, public celebrations have been banned in the capital Kyiv from Monday till Thursday, restricting festivities to commemorate Ukraine's independence from the Soviet rule.
Pro-Russian officials accused Ukrainian forces of shelling a building that housed the local administration headquarters in the center of separatist-controlled Donetsk on Tuesday. The separatist mayor of Donetsk said that 3 people were killed in a series of strikes on Donetsk. The strikes were conducted with Western-supplied weapons. The Central Hotel in Donetsk was also hit on Tuesday and guests had to be evacuated. Donetsk has been under the control of Russian-backed separatists since 2014. A separatist official said at least one of the shells used in the attack was fired from a US-made HIMAR artillery system, Russian state news agencies reported.
Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky at a news conference in Kyiv vowed that Ukraine would recapture its annexed peninsula of Crimea from Russia whenever it deems fit. He added that Kyiv would not consult other countries before doing so. Zelensky made the comments after leaders of dozens of countries and international organizations took part, most of them virtually, in Crimea Platform, which is a forum hosted by Ukraine focused on the peninsula.
We will take back Crimea. It is our territory. We will do this in any way which we decide. We will decide this by ourselves, without consultation with any other country in the world. As for direct attacks, Ukraine doesn't attack any civilians, neither in foreign countries nor on temporarily occupied Ukrainian territory. We know what we are doing. We know where the military objects and depots are. Ukrainian soldiers are able to work according to the plan there.
Western leaders on Tuesday warned Russia against annexing other parts of Ukrainian territory after Crimea, amid rumors that Russia is planning to do so in various occupied areas. The leaders sent video addresses to Crimea Platform Conference in Kiev, which was attended in person by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and his Polish counterpart, Andrzej Duda. The Crimean Peninsula was seized and illegally annexed by Russia in 2014 after a referendum widely deemed illegitimate. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said Western leaders condemn Russia's attempts to forcefully integrate parts of Ukrainian territory. Any sham referenda or other attempts to alter the status of parts of Ukrainian territory will never be recognized, he said.
Now, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken wished Ukrainians a happy Independence Day one day earlier than the actual one when he participated in a virtual summit to express solidarity with Kyiv as it prepared to mark the 6-month anniversary of the Russian attack.
To the Ukrainian people, I know it's a day early, but on behalf of all Americans, happy Independence Day. Respect for Ukraine's independence is at the core of the Crimea platform, as is the principle that every nation's sovereignty and territorial integrity must be respected, and no country should be able to redraw another's borders by force. These principles are also at the heart of the United Nations Charter and the broader rules-based international order, which has underwritten decades of greater peace and prosperity for people around the globe. When that order is undermined anywhere, it's a threat to people everywhere. And governments willing to flout these principles in one place rarely stop there. That's what Russia's actions in Ukraine teach us.
Russia and Ukraine both have traded accusations over who was endangering the Zaporozhye nuclear plant, as the United Nations urged both sides to insulate the Ukrainian facility from the ongoing war. Russia called the meeting at the UN Security Council on Tuesday to discuss the dangers that close shelling and a military presence pose to the power plant in southern Ukraine, amid fears that a damaged reactor could leak radiation across the region. Russian troops have controlled the plant for weeks now and allegedly have placed arms and war supplies there, something that Moscow denies. Russian ambassador to the United Nations, Vasily Nebenzia, accused Ukrainian forces of shelling the plant, heightening the danger of a nuclear disaster. Ukraine's Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, which is Europe's largest, was overrun by Russian troops in March this year. It remains close to the front lines and has come under repeated shelling in recent weeks, raising fears of a nuclear disaster.
Now, speaking at the beginning of the meeting, UN Under-Secretary Rosemary DiCarlo said that both sides need to agree on demilitarizing the plant even as the war continues.
Once again urge the parties to provide the IAEA mission with immediate, secure, and unfettered access to the site. Agreement is urgently needed to re-establish Zaporizhzhia as purely civilian infrastructure and to ensure the safety of the area. We must be clear that any potential damage to the plant or any other nuclear facilities in Ukraine leading to a possible nuclear incident would have catastrophic consequences not only for the immediate vicinity but for the region and beyond.
Meanwhile, United States will announce a new security assistance package for Ukraine of about $3 billion in what would be the single largest tranche to Kiev since Russia's attack 6 months ago. The package is being prepared to coincide with Ukraine's Independence Day today. The package uses funds from the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative appropriated by Congress to allow the Biden administration to procure weapons from industry rather than taking weapons from the existing US weapon stocks. Since Russian troops attack in what Russian President Vladimir Putin termed a special military operation to demilitarize Ukraine, the conflict has settled into a war of attrition fought primarily in eastern and southern Ukraine now. Washington has provided $10.6 billion in military assistance to President Volodymyr Zelensky's government since 24th of February this year.
Moving on, India has warned that world body United Nations could slip into oblivion and be overtaken by more democratic organizations if the UN Security Council is not reformed to make it more relevant to today's geopolitical realities. India's permanent representative to UN, Ruchira Kamboj, said that a truly representative Security Council is the most pressing need of the hour.
The most urgent thing, therefore, for us to do is to make the Security Council more representative of developing countries so as to reflect current geopolitical realities. A truly representative Security Council is the most pressing need of the hour. Else, there is a real danger of the United Nations being superseded by other plurilateral and multilateral groupings, which are more representative, more transparent, more democratic, and therefore more effective.
India has also cautioned against any double standards on the issue of combating terrorism and emphasized that any coercive or unilateral action that seeks to change the status quo by force is an affront to the principle of common security, as per India's permanent representative to the UN, Ruchira Kamboj. She was speaking during a United Nations Security Council meeting on the topic, Promote Common Security Through Dialogue and Cooperation.
The underlying principles behind common security lie in upholding the rules-based international order, underpinned by international law, premised upon respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all member states, resolution of international disputes through peaceful negotiations, and free and open access for all to the global commons. Any coercive or unilateral action that seeks to change the status quo by force is an affront to common security. Further, common security is only possible when countries respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Common security is also only feasible when all countries stand together against common threats such as terrorism and do not engage in double standards while preaching otherwise.
Now, at the UN Security Council meeting on the situation in Ukraine, Ruchira Kamboj also stressed that India remains concerned over the situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine. The Indian diplomat said that India supports the ongoing efforts, including that of IAEA, to reduce tensions and steps to ensure security.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will attend the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Defence Ministers meeting, which is set to take place in Tashkent, Uzbekistan today. During the annual meeting, defence cooperation issues among the SCO member states will be discussed, and it is expected that a joint communique will be issued after the deliberations. Rajnath Singh's address at the meeting is slated to be held today. Earlier, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh held talks with the Belarusian Defence Minister, Lieutenant General Viktor Krenin, in Tashkent. Both the leaders reviewed the full range of bilateral defence ties and deliberated on ways to enhance cooperation between both the countries. The Defence Minister also informed about his meeting with the Defence Minister of Kazakhstan, Colonel General Ruslan Zakslikov, which also took place in Tashkent. They discussed on ongoing defence and security cooperation and other issues of mutual interest. The Defence Minister also held a bilateral meeting with the Defence Minister of Uzbekistan, Lieutenant General Bakhudir Kurbanov. During the talks, the leaders reviewed the India-Uzbekistan defence relationship. Rajnath Singh said that cooperation between the two countries is based on a solid foundation and it will continue to grow over the coming decades. Rajnath Singh also met with Defence Minister of Kazakhstan, General Ruslan Zakslov, in Tashkent. The leaders discussed the entire gamut of ongoing defence and security cooperation and other issues of mutual interest.
All right, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar interacted with Brazilian entrepreneurs at the LIDE, which is Brazil's largest industry association. And during this, the External Affairs Minister said that strong relations are visible between Brazil and Indian entrepreneurs. He also added that India and Brazil are not only partners but can also share best practices with each other for their mutual development and progress. Meanwhile, Dr. Jaishankar also witnessed the presentations of big industrial institutes like WEG, Embraer and Unica during the period.
All right, we are slipping into a short break here on DD India. More national and international news on the other side. We'll be back in just a bit. Stay with us. Welcome back to DD India. Let's give you more international news and now focus on the energy crisis in Europe, because Europe is going to brace for winter and it has to stock in its supplies.
Absolutely. Well, Canada has stepped in to provide for the loss of Russian energy supplies to Germany. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz met with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau during a 3-day visit with a delegation of German company executives in tow. The visit is being seen as a major effort to boost clean energy.
Russia's attack of Ukraine is bringing Canada and Germany closer together, with Canada seeking to boost energy and critical mineral exports to Germany as both countries wean themselves off fossil fuels. Earlier on Monday, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz met with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau during a 3-day visit with a delegation of German company executives in tow. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said on Monday that Canada is exploring ways to see if there is a business case to export liquefied natural gas directly to Europe from its east coast, while German Chancellor too outlined his priorities.
We are in a situation in the short term where we will do what we can to contribute to the global supply of energy by increasing our capacities in the short term and explore ways to see if it makes sense to export LNG, and if there's a business case for it, to export LNG directly to Europe. And that's something that economic conversations are going on between businesses in Canada and in Germany. But in the medium term and long term, Canada can and will position itself to be a key supplier of energy to the world in a net zero economy.
What Russia is doing is splitting population, splitting allies, splitting all those who are supporting the Ukraine. And this should never succeed. And this is the reason why we are so thankful for the decision of the Canadian government. But as you see from what I say to you, we are working hard to become independent of this gas supply, and we are doing a lot of investments to make it happen, and we are doing it as fast as ever possible. Never such an infrastructure has been built in Germany in that a short time.
Germany is facing an energy crisis this winter as Russia has gradually reduced deliveries of gas. Germany's economy and climate minister Robert Habeck on Monday said that Germany had a good chance of getting through the coming winter without taking drastic measures, but nonetheless faces a difficult time and must prepare for Russia to tighten gas supplies further. In order to save energy, the city of Darmstadt in Germany decided to no longer illuminate 30 monuments in the city. They also decided to reduce the room temperature in public buildings and to cut short the heating periods of these buildings. In public schools, there will be no more hot water in showers or bathroom sinks after the summer break.
Switching of the illumination of public buildings alone saves as much energy as a 60 to 70 single household use in a year. It is about saving, enhancing effectivity, and the expansion of renewable energies.
While in public pools, the water temperature is being lowered from 28 degrees to 26 degrees in indoor pools, from 32 degrees to 28 degrees in outdoor pools.
After 2 weeks of experience, we can say that customers are accepting the reduction of water temperature very well. I think that it will be continued mostly.
In April this year, Russian energy giant Gazprom halted gas supplies to Bulgaria and Poland over a failure to pay for gas in rubles. On Monday, Bulgaria's interim government signaled its readiness to negotiate with Russian energy company Gazprom on the resumption of natural gas deliveries. In a statement posted online on Friday, Russia's state-owned energy company Gazprom said the planned shutdown from August 31 to September 2 is for routine maintenance at a key compressor station along the Nord Stream 1 pipeline which links Western Russia and Germany. DD India.
Moving on there now, well, UNESCO has awarded the 2022 Peace Prize to former German Chancellor Angela Merkel in recognition of her efforts to welcome refugees. According to the UN Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization's Twitter account and website, the jury of the Felix Houphouët-Boigny UNESCO Peace Prize awarded the prize to Merkel for her courageous decision in 2015 to welcome more than 1.2 million refugees, notably from Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan and Eritrea. Then, in a pivotal moment, Merkel opened Germany's borders and had famously told Germans then, "We can do it." By the end of 2015, 890,000 asylum seekers had entered Germany. Meanwhile, in 2022, the new Chancellor, centre-left Olaf Scholz, opened Germany's borders once more to hundreds of thousands of mainly Ukrainian women and children after Russia attacked Ukraine in February this year.
All right, moving on, U.S. Representative Charlie Crist, a former Republican governor of Florida, emerged as the Democrat who will try to unseat sitting Republican Governor Ron DeSantis in the November general election. Voters cast ballots in state primaries in Florida, New York and Oklahoma to choose party nominees for the November 8th midterm elections, which will determine the balance of power in the House of Representatives and the Senate in the run-up to the 2024 presidential polls. New York also held the first competitive congressional election since the Supreme Court overturned national abortion rights.
The stakes could not be any higher for this election. Our fundamental freedoms are literally on the ballot, my friends. A woman's right to choose on the ballot. Democracy on the ballot. Your rights as minorities are on this ballot. That's what's at stake in this election. Make no mistake about it, because this guy wants to be President of the United States of America, and everybody knows it. However, when we defeat him on November 8th, that show is over.
Journalists in the Mexican city of Acapulco on Tuesday took to the streets to protest against the spate of violence that has seen 18 media workers killed this year. Columnist Freddie Roman was shot to death in his car on Monday in the Pacific coastal state of Guerrero, adding to the string of killings. The journalist was killed just after posting a column on the alleged involvement of local politicians in the disappearance of 43 students in 2014, which investigators called a state crime last week. Roman's death follows the murders of at least 3 other Mexican journalists this month. This year has been the deadliest for Mexican journalists, according to reports.
All right, at this point, we're heading into another break. After the break, we get you more about the Prime Minister's visit to Haryana and Punjab today. Stay tuned.
The changing world of news. Headlines that you wake up to. News that shapes your day. Stories that matter to you. The latest and most accurate updates. A fresh start to a new day. The Breakfast News, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching Breakfast News on DD India.
And now updates from back home. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Haryana and Punjab today. The day will witness 2 important health initiatives being dedicated to the nation by the Prime Minister. The availability of modern medical infrastructure in the national capital region is set to get a boost as the Prime Minister will inaugurate Amrita Hospital at Faridabad in Haryana. Managed by Mata Amritanandamai Mutt, the super specialty hospital will be equipped with 2,600 beds. The hospital, which is being constructed at an estimated cost of around 6,000 crore rupees, will provide state-of-the-art healthcare facilities to the people of Faridabad and the entire NCR region.
And in an endeavour to provide world-class cancer care to the residents of Punjab and its neighbouring states and UTs, Prime Minister Modi will dedicate the Homi Bhabha Cancer Hospital and Research Centre to the nation at Mullapur in Mohali's New Chandigarh. The hospital has been built at a cost of over 660 crore rupees by the Tata Memorial Centre, an aided institute under the Department of Atomic Energy. The cancer hospital is a tertiary care hospital of 300-bed capacity and is equipped with modern facilities to treat all types of cancers using every available treatment modalities like surgery, radiotherapy and medical oncology, like chemotherapy, immunotherapy and bone marrow transplant. The hospital will function as a hub of cancer care and treatment in the region, with the 100-bedded hospital in Sangrur functioning like it spoke.
आपने देखा कि एक ज़माना था कि अगर किसी को बदकिस्मती से कैंसर हो जाता तो परिवार के लिए ये स्वप्न रहता कि वो जाके बम्बई अपना इलाज करवाए, टाटा इंस्टीट्यूट में कराए। आज उसी तर्ज पर होमी भाभा सेंटर की कड़ी के तौर पर देश के भिन्न भिन्न स्थानों पर इस तरह के संस्थान स्थापित करने का क्रम शुरू किया गया है। वाराणसी में हमारा इस तरह का संस्थान स्थापित हो चुका है, बिहार में, उत्तराखंड में, और कल जो प्रधानमंत्री लोकार्पण करेंगे तो ये न केवल मोहाली के लिए या पंजाब प्रदेश के लिए बल्कि उत्तर भारत के चारों प्रदेश, हिमाचल प्रदेश, पंजाब, हरियाणा और केंद्र शासित चंडीगढ़, केंद्र शासित जम्मू कश्मीर, केंद्र शासित लद्दाख के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा वरदान रहेगा।
All right, so a big day for Haryana and Punjab today, and of course the neighbouring states as well as union territories as they get these health gifts from the Prime Minister today. And not just these states, I think the entire country will benefit when it comes to tertiary care hospitals, especially in cancer care and research of a deadly disease such as cancer. And of course the Prime Minister will be dedicating the Homi Bhabha Cancer Hospital and Research Centre in Mohali today. It is going to be, of course, a big boon for the state. Our colleague Akanksha is getting us more on this visit. She's joining us from Mohali. Akanksha, good morning. A big day for Punjab today when it comes to healthcare initiatives, and Prime Minister Modi dedicating to the nation the Homi Bhabha Cancer Hospital and Research Centre. You know, considering the fact that over the past decades there have been increased number of cancer cases in the state of Punjab, get us how this hospital will really benefit the people there, and of course more details about the hospital.
A very good morning to you. Not just Punjab will be benefited with this hospital. This cancer institute is going to be giving benefits to the 7 other states also adjoining Punjab, and the connectivity to this place, Chandigarh, Mullapur, is very good. So you will see that it is going to be a benefit for the states of the northwest. All the region is going to be benefited with this cancer institute, and this is one of its kind and state-of-the-art hospital, which is equipped with everything which is related to for the cancer patients. It is just a one-stop thing. You don't have to go anywhere. All the facilities, right from the laboratory, right from the consultation, everything is provided. Even the daycare center is being put up there, and it is a 300-bedded facility which has been built in 50 acres. It was given by Gamada. The Punjab government had provided it free of cost. And certainly this cancer hospital is going to be will be giving a lot of help to the to PGI also, because PGI is always burdened with patients. So now with a dedicated cancer hospital, that will also be a big help.
Okay, Akanksha, could you tell us a little bit more on the 100-bedded cancer care hospital in Sangrur, which is being said that hospital is going to act as spoke to Homi Bhabha Research Centre?
The Sangrur hospital is already working, and around 37,000 patients have been treated in that hospital, and it is running quite very well. And there was a train which used to go to Bikaner because Bikaner had a cancer hospital. So now people have stopped going to Bikaner and they are getting the facility at their own state. So it is affordable and it is accessible treatment which people are getting now with Sangrur coming up, and with this hospital, certainly people will be it will be very convenient for them to get the treatment.
Absolutely. Akanksha, also the Prime Minister is going to be dedicating this hospital to the nation. Quickly tell us, when is the Prime Minister expected in the state and what arrangements have been put in place for this event today?
The security has been beefed up. The area has been no flying zone from yesterday only, and certainly there is a lot of security keeping in view that the Prime Minister is visiting, and it is expected that he is going to be reaching Chandigarh by 2 o'clock, and he will be inaugurating the cancer hospital by 2:15, and then he is going to be addressing a public rally after that.
All right, Akanksha, you keep a track of that, and we'll keep coming back to you for the latest from Punjab. This afternoon is when the Prime Minister is expected to visit the state and dedicate to the nation the Cancer Care Hospital in Mohali. We'll keep getting you updates from the state of Punjab. Akanksha Saxena, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Breakfast News and getting us the latest.
Okay, and moving on now in Breakfast News, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with participating students of the Smart India Hackathon 2022 hardware and software finales that have been scheduled from 25th of August to the 29th of August. 75 higher educational institutes and incubators have been identified as Smart India Hackathon nodal centers as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Listen it.
Innovation and startup ecosystem in the higher education institutions of the country, the Ministry of Education had launched Smart India Hackathon in 2017, which is the largest open innovation model of the world. This nationwide initiative provides students a platform to solve the pressing problems of the government, ministries, departments, industries and other organizations. Smart India Hackathon 2022 hardware grand finale is scheduled from 25th August to 29th August 2022, and the Smart India Hackathon 2022 software grand finale is scheduled from 25th August to 26th August 2022. On the first day of Hackathon 2022, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with the participating students.
ये जो स्मार्ट इंडिया हैकाथॉन एक नेशन वाइड हमारे एक सारे स्टूडेंट्स को एक मौका मिलता है। ये क्या मौका है? मौका है सारे मिनिस्ट्री, हमारे विभाग, डिफरेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से जितने प्रॉब्लम है, ये प्रॉब्लम को हम लेते हैं पहले से, और ये प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने के लिए स्टूडेंट को मौका देते हैं, सो दैट दे कैन थिंक आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स। और ये सबसे बड़ा वर्ल्ड्स बिगेस्ट ओपन इनोवेशन प्लेटफॉर्म।
As part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations, the Ministry of Education's Innovation Cell and All India Council for Technical Education has identified 75 higher educational institutions, incubators as Smart India Hackathon nodal centers to host the participants and facilitate an environment to conduct the Smart India Hackathon in its well-defined and established format. A total of 2,033 teams are taking part in the grand finale. More than 15,000 students are taking part in the grand event.
मैं जो पढ़ रहा हूँ उसका कहीं ना कहीं उपयोग होना चाहिए, किसी ना किसी समस्या का समाधान निकलना चाहिए। ये जब मन में आ जाता है और उसकी बीज रोपण हो जाता है तो उससे बहुत सारे लोगों ने इनको अच्छी जॉब मिलते हुए भी उसको ठुकरा कर अपना व्यवसाय शुरू करने की जो आदत डाली है, उसमें से अभी बहुत सारे स्टार्टअप्स निर्माण हुए, करीब 700, और AICT ने ही करीब 90 ऐसे स्टार्टअप्स को 10 लाख रुपए तक का सपोर्ट भी दिया हुआ है, और बाद में बाहर से भी उनको फंडिंग मिलकर जॉब सीकिंग के जगह में जॉब क्रिएशन में अभी छात्र लग गए हैं। ये बहुत बड़ा है। भारत अभी दुनिया के तीसरा स्थान पर स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम है। बहुत जल्द ही हम सेकंड स्थान या फर्स्ट स्थान में जाने में सफल हो जाएंगे।
Smart India Hackathon is a major initiative in the direction of achieving the target of Digital India and Atmanirbhar Bharat. Nishant Saurabh's report for DD India from New Delhi.
All right, let's get you weather updates. After heavy rains in Rajasthan, a flood-like situation has arisen in many districts of the state. SDRF and civil defence teams are engaged in relief and rescue operations in all the areas of Karoli district that have been affected by the floods. At the same time, essential items and medical facilities are being provided to the people affected by these floods. Indian Air Force has also conducted rescue operations in flood-affected areas in the Bara district of Rajasthan.
People in Odisha are facing problems due to continuous heavy downpour and flood-like situation in Kendrapada district. Meanwhile, relief camps have been arranged. Relief material and healthcare facilities are also being provided to the people of Odisha. Several teams of NDRF, SDRF have been deployed to deal with the flood-like situation in different areas of the state.
Meanwhile, due to incessant rainfall in Bihar for the last few days, rivers are touching the danger mark in some districts. People are also migrating due to the water entering the low-lying areas. On the other hand, Bihar's Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has visited JP Setu and Gandhi Ghat in Patna to take stock of the rising water level of the Ganga River. He also instructed the officials regarding the rising water level of River Ganga.
Okay, time now to slip into another short break here on DD India. When we come back, we tell you what's happening in Pakistan as regards former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Stay tuned.
Changing world of news. Headlines that you wake up to. News that shapes your day. Stories that matter to you. The latest and most accurate updates. A fresh start to a new day. The Breakfast News, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. on DD India.
All right, thanks for staying with us on DD India. Next, we bring you what's happening in Pakistan, where trouble seems to be continuing for former Prime Minister Imran Khan.
Absolutely, and a big blow to Pakistan ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan. Fresh cases were registered against Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf chief for violating Section 144 by organizing a rally in Islamabad to show solidarity with Shehbaz Gill. The federal government on Tuesday lodged 2 cases against PTI chief Imran Khan and other PTI leaders. Now, according to details emerging from the country, the federal government has lodged a case against the PTI chairman Imran Khan and his party leaders, including Murad Saeed, Fawad Chaudhry, Faisal Javed, Sheikh Rashid and Asad Umar. The case had been lodged against Imran Khan and other PTI leaders for violating Article 144 by organizing a rally in Islamabad on Saturday night that continued till Sunday.
The US National Archives discovered more than 700 pages of classified documents at Donald Trump's Florida home in addition to the material seized this month by FBI agents. According to a newly disclosed May letter, the records agency sent to the Republican former president's attorney. The large quantity of classified material in 15 boxes was recovered in January by the National Archives and Records Administration, some marked as top secret. Now, this provides more insight into what led to the FBI's court-authorized 8th August search of Trump's residence at the Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach. The agency is responsible for preserving government records.
Now, the situation in Afghanistan. Well, conditions for religious freedom in Afghanistan have drastically deteriorated since the Taliban seized power last year as the last US-led foreign troops pulled out after 20 years of war. The US Commission on International Religious Freedom said that the Sunni Muslim extremists' harsh enforcement of their hardline version of Islam violates the freedom of religion or belief of a wide range of Afghans. The congressionally created panel issued its report 9 days after the Taliban marked a year since they overran Kabul, returning to power almost 2 decades after their ouster by the 2001 US-led invasion. The report also noted that the Taliban pledged to protect all ethnic and religious groups.
The US Justice Department has launched a civil rights investigation into the conduct of 3 Arkansas law enforcement officers caught in an online video over the weekend punching and kicking a suspect while he was on the ground outside a convenience store. The department's field office in Western Arkansas said in a statement that it will work with the Civil Rights Division and the FBI to investigate the incident on Sunday in Mulberry. A video of the incident taken by a bystander and shared widely on social media and news networks showed an officer punching a suspect in the face as he held his head to the pavement while another officer kicked the man. A third officer was seen holding the suspect down on the ground. A series of deadly encounters in recent years, many of them captured on cell phone video, have highlighted what critics brand as a pattern within the US law enforcement agencies of using excessive force.
Well, shifting focus, time now for some COVID updates from across the world. Globally, COVID-19 cases have crossed 60 crore. The number of recoveries from the disease stand above 57 crore 69 lakh, while the virus has claimed 64 lakh 75,000 lives worldwide. United States continues to remain the worst affected by registering the highest number of COVID cases in the world. The country's COVID case tally remains above 9 crore 55 lakh, whereas the number of fatalities from the disease have been lodged as above 10 lakh 66,000. A look at Europe now. France recorded the maximum number of cases by reporting more than 3 crore 43 lakh cases, whereas Germany and UK stand in second and third in the list. Germany has reported over 3 crore 18 lakh, while UK recorded over 2 crore 34 lakh COVID cases so far. They're followed by Italy, which has reported above 2 crore 16 lakh cases of COVID-19.
Moderna Inc. has sought US authorization for its COVID-19 booster shot tailored against the BA.4 and BA.5 subvariants of Omicron and said if cleared, it would be ready to deliver the doses in September. Its application with the US Food and Drug Administration is based on preclinical data for the so-called bivalent dose that contains the dominant BA.4, BA.5 variants along with the original coronavirus strain. Moderna said a mid to late stage trial for the vaccine is underway. The submission also includes clinical trial data for its BA.1 Omicron targeting bivalent booster candidate, which was last week cleared in Britain.
All right, let's get to the impact of climate change now from across the world. Devastating flooding ripped through portions of Sudan early this week. And with the peak of the rainiest season of the year underway, AccuWeather forecasters say more trouble may be on the horizon. According to a UN census, from mid-August, over 80 people have been killed and 25 have been injured, and more than 1,46,000 people have been displaced. The UN statement also adds that the number of people and areas affected has doubled this year compared to the year before. Citizens at Gazira state were moved to schools and makeshift shelters after their houses were destroyed amid difficult conditions, while officials in Sudan declared a state of emergency for flood disasters.
And on to the US. Flash floods and torrential rain led a stormy weekend in Texas, forcing hundreds to move to safer locations. A Texas cemetery was nearly submerged following heavy flooding. Rescue workers could be seen wading in knee-high water in some of the town's heavily flooded residential areas. A downpour in the Dallas area has triggered flooding throughout the region, washing out major roads and leaving many trapped in their homes. Texas Governor Greg Abbott in a news conference said that the state is prepared to handle extreme weather conditions.
Meanwhile, sweltering temperatures are straining fragile water and power supplies in the west coast of the United States, exhausting even those typically used to the California sun. Temperatures in the most populous state are forecast to climb to well above 38 degrees Celsius during the afternoon. In some cities like California's capital, Sacramento, cooler weather still meant highs of around 37 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, the heat waves have added to drought conditions in California, forcing counties across the state to put restrictions on water usage. A new report from the climate-focused research group First Street Foundation suggests that people may need to get used to this extreme heat.
So day in and day out, more news of flooding from across the world coming in, and we have to take notice before it's too late.
Absolutely, yes. And let's move on now. We'll keep a track of that, of course, but let's move on to our next segment, that is Biz Buzz.
So starting with Wall Street, the S&P 500 ended down on Tuesday overnight as investors focused on data showing a slowing economy ahead of a US Federal Reserve gathering later this week in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Meanwhile, stocks have declined in recent sessions ahead of this week's central bank gathering in Jackson Hole, where Fed Chair Jerome Powell is expected to reinforce a strong commitment to stamp out inflation running at 4 decades high on Friday. Traders are split between expecting a 50 basis point hike and a 75 basis point hike by the central bank after several policymakers recently pushed back against expectations of a dovish pivot and emphasized that the Fed's commitment to fight against inflation remains.
We believe the Fed will do 50, although it's clearly we have low confidence in the Fed, that we think they're being too hawkish. The money supply, which is the best leading indicator of both inflation and the economy and the stock market, is down 15% this year alone. But the Fed tends to ignore the money supply and just focus on the labor market. So we think that there's definitely risk they could do 75, but we did have a very dovish CPI print. Surprisingly, even services and housing cooled off. We knew energy was going to cool off. So we do believe this money supply drop is impacting inflation, but we're not sure the Fed is going to figure that out anytime soon.
Meanwhile, oil prices fell on Wednesday, taking a breather from a nearly 4% surge the previous day on receding fears of an imminent output cut by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and Allies, a group which is also known as OPEC+. Global benchmark Brent crude futures fell 21 cents to USD 100.01 a barrel by 0114 GMT after rising 3.9% on Tuesday. The US West Texas Intermediate crude futures contract was down 10 cents at USD 93.64 a barrel, having jumped 3.7% the previous day.
Okay, time now to bring you all the latest sporting action in our segment Sports Track.
Well, Indian players continue their stellar performance at the ongoing World Badminton Championships in Tokyo. Lakshya Sen, Kidambi Srikanth, HS Pranoy will play their respective matches in the men's singles category. in the round of 32 matches. In the round of 32 of men's doubles matches, the pair of Dhruv Kapila and Arjun, Chirag Shetty and Satvik Rajranki Reddy will play their respective matches today.
And next, we take a look at today's weather forecast, the temperature from prominent cities of the country.
And it's now time to wrap up breakfast news this morning, but as always, we are leaving you with something interesting to kickstart your day.
Yes, we are going to take you deep into the ocean where a humpback whale is seen swimming along with a pod of dolphins. Hopefully this whale's sail is going to kickstart your day. Take a look. Thanks for joining us. Namaskar.
Namaskar.